Schotten, Totten. Schotten, Totten, a game that ran in Knizia that has been around for quite a while. I mean, the game, right, Knizia too. This game is now in its third incarnation. First it came out as Schotten Totten with a basic set of cards. Later was remade and expanded with an extra set of cards. They gave extra gameplay options. Into Battle Line by GMT. GMT specializes in war games, so no surprise that they rethemed it with a war theme, and they use some art, some typical art that you may see in GMT counters that about from war games depicting ancient warfare. So, but mechanically what this added was a set of tactical cards. They weren't called tactical here, we were called environment if I'm not wrong. But that extra set of cards. Now we have the third version, which is called Schotten Totten again. It has again the original theme, which is Scottish clans fighting over stones. Well, they represent borders between different lands, I assume. And Schotten Totten has also incorporated the idea of some extra tactical cards that give the players extra options. So you have basic cards and cards that allow you to perform special options. How does the game work? In this game, also something I should mention actually is that there is new art here. That is goofy, cartoony art like we have come to expect from Iello and from many European publishers. Is like a European thing. So we had these cards that had different numbers and different colors, the colors representing different suits. Also very small symbols there to differentiate the suits for the colorblind or the color impaired. Or for those of us that are growing a little older, or when maybe you do not have a light that is shining right on the play area, maybe you're trying to play this while you're camping in the evening, it's gonna be tough. These symbols, yes, they differentiate the cards from whenever the color is not easy to tell, the colors are not easy to tell apart, but they're not easy to see themselves. So you have these cards, different suits, different numbers, so players will have a hand of cards in their hand, and how does gameplay work? Super mega simple. Imagine that these tiles are representing the stones that the players are fighting for, has two play areas on both sides. One is the area where a player will play a card, and the other is the area where another player will play a card. This round I play a card there, and then I draw another card to refill my hand, and my opponent plays a card there, and then I play a card there, and you play a card there, and so on and so forth. The idea is that basically you play a card on any one location, draw another card, and your turn is over. What you can also do is to claim a location. To claim a location, for a location to be claimed, that location need to have three cards of each side. So the players need to have both like three cards, with an exception that I will explain in a little bit. When three cards are present, usually then, unless that has happened before the exception, then the player can claim. So basically you see which is the player that has the most valuable combination of cards there. And you have two player rates, one per player, very useful, that tell you the order, the value from best to worst. We have the color run, which is three cards in order. I mean, they have numerical order, they do not need to be in the right order in the stack there. And they have the same color, right? 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. Again, it may be that you played them in like 6, 4, and 5. They still count as a color run. Then you have 3 of a kind, different colors. Then you have 3 of a color. Then a run of 3, but not of the same color. And then a sum of cards. That is 3 of a kind. It is just that if both players only have, 3 of any kind. If both players have 3 of any kind, then you sum them together. Also, you total the value of the cards to determine a tiebreaker. In case there's a tie, then the player with the total value. If there's still a tie, then the player that finished the set of 3 there is the winner of that contest. So very, very simple. The winner of the contest who in this case would be this player, takes a tile and puts it on their side. And that's it. That's enough for that contest. The winner of the game is the first player to conquer 3 adjacent tiles or 5 tiles anywhere in the battle line, in the line. As I said, there is an exception when you can claim locations, even if you do not have 3 cards per location, which is when you can demonstrate by looking at the cards. By looking at the cards there, that the opponent could not possibly win against you. For example, if this is a situation and I have 3 of a kind, which is there, the only way for the opponent to tie me or to win would be either to have 3 of a kind with higher value or a color run. Right now the opponent is stuck there with a 5 and a 6, which may make a run, but will never make a color run because the 5 and 6 are green and yellow, so I can demonstrate the player will not win anyways, and then I can claim that post, I can claim that stone without having to actually go through the process, without having 3 cards on both sides, which is important because otherwise the opponent may stall indefinitely, not committing a 3rd card to a place where they know that they will lose anyways. Then also we have tactics cards that are optional. You can choose to include them, then in which case you have this other deck of cards and players can draw from the main deck or from this other deck here, and these cards will give different types of effects, giving you advantages, allowing you to exploit certain things, certain combinations rather than others, changing the requirements for a certain area to be scored. There's a trader, and I have to say, of all of the art that I've seen in games in my entire life, this is one of the most impressive. This is one heck of a trader. Also, you cannot play more than 1 card, tactical card, than the opponent. So the opponent really doesn't want you to play your cards. Maybe you stacked up, you got a lot, you got a big number of cards in your hand that the opponent, and you played already 1 more than the opponent can stall you there. So you need to be careful when you're drawing cards. I like this balancing idea here, and I also like the extra layer that this brings. But in general, I must say I really like the simple, elegant clarity of the original idea. So simple. It's like semi-sorta poker with more of an architecture, with much more strategy, much more thinking, with a spatial element that is simple, clear, it's attractive, mechanically even, because you can get people to play very easily because everybody gets the idea, oh, you're gonna form certain combinations of cards that are more valuable than others. It's a non-threatening idea rather than, I don't know, place your worker, activate that special effect, etc., etc., etc. It makes it much more of an entryway, gateway game. But it's really such a simple, elegant, terse idea that, however, gives you something to think about without turning this into like a brain teaser, into like a crazy puzzle that makes your head hurt at the end. You just have enough thinking here to keep you interested. You need to pay attention to what the opponent is doing. You need to pay attention to what is out there. Maybe you will overlook claiming an area and for a long time if you do not pay attention. But in general, I like the thinking that is involved here. And there's a tactical element, mind you, and a luck element based on the cards that you get. But still, I don't find this to be a purely tactical game. You kind of like need, because you need to have a longer term idea what you want to do, especially in the sense that there is a lot of delay that you'll try to do. You'll try not to commit to an area rather than another, not to commit to too many areas, because once you play 2 cards, then you're committed. The opponent can easily see what you cannot do. It can easily beat you there. So you'll try to delay, but you cannot do that forever. And when you have certain cards, then you will jump on that opportunity and try to secure a good position. So I like the fact that you're responding to every card that you get, you're responding to every card that the opponent is doing, but you're still trying to form powerful sets in your hand, although you may not be playing them immediately. You're trying to keep them in your hand until it's the right time. you don't want to commit too early, but also you do not want to miss an opportunity if the opponent starts building a powerful area in a powerful set in a powerful area. And also like the fact that the line is not all equal, not all areas are equal here, but certain areas when people are trying to lock 3 in an undivided, uninterrupted row, they become particularly powerful. So again, you have to pay attention to what combinations the opponent is playing and where they're distributed and how they are placed on the table. A lot of nice thinking here. And the only difference really between this version of Schotten Totten and the second version of the game, the battle line version, is the art. Also the fact that here you do not have tiles to represent the areas that you're fighting for, but you have these little pawns here. But in general, I have to say, the components, the art of the components and the components themselves pretty much are the only difference. And call me a nostalgic, call me a wargamer, call me a grognard, I prefer the components of the Battle Line edition better, the GMT edition better. Simply, even just materially, the size is pretty much the same, as you can see, but these are the cards here are simply sturdier. They're glossy, as you can probably see, simply the way the light reflects on this card rather than this one. They're glossy, they're sturdy, they are more durable, they shuffle, they're easier to shuffle, and there's maybe a personal thing, I much prefer the art that you find here. It is simpler to read, it's still very thematic, still very evocative, it's not humorous, it's not goofy, it is quite literally art for war games, but I think it works very well. I just still find it elegant, clean, evocative. I think it has a nice combination, a nice balance here between functionality and aesthetic. I mean, frankly, this I find to be a very beautiful illustration. It has fewer nuances, less humor. It doesn't distort the human anatomy in a way that is amusing, but I think it's beautiful. So I simply like the art and the material components that make the old cards, or the cards for Battleline, better than the material and the art of Schotten Totten. Other than that, the game is exactly the same. But there's something important though. There is something to be said for this art. If you are playing with young gamers, if you're playing with children, if you're playing with non-gamers and non-war gamers, then this may be more attractive to them. And you know what? Whatever you do that gets people to play a game that they wouldn't play otherwise, fine by me. Well, as long as you're not using violent illegal means. But if it's just like, look at this pretty art, would you want to play the game that is around this art, the design behind it, and well, that's fine. And maybe some players will find this art a little too drab for them, especially when it comes to the environmental cards. The art is definitely much more abstract and much more functional here, and the art of the tactic cards here may be much more attractive, as you have this Obelix kind of character here, and you have this like Maleficent character here, Joker from Batman, whatever. There are some pop references here. This is the mud fight, but frankly it does look like Clayface, a slimmer version of Clayface from the Batman idea, and this guy is just his own thing. Yeah, I had to say, just get the game for this guy because he's so amusing. But other than that, I find the Battle Line to be a better, I wouldn't say a better game because the design is the same, a better implementation of the design, a better physical embodiment, physical rendition of the design. Other than that, Schotten Totten is really fun. Unless you're playing it with young gamers or with potential players that you think will be turned off by the simpler, more elegant design of Battle Line, I would suggest, well, if you really want to give a try to the design, try Battle Line if you can still find it. I don't know if it's out of print or not. Otherwise, Schotten Totten. Same game, same design, different material execution. Choose the one that you prefer, but give a try to this game because it is really and truly a good game. And there is a reason why it has been around for so long, and there is a reason why so many consider it a modern classic.